Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Jakub, for inviting us to this session of Visegrad Film Forum. So, as it was said, this is organized together with CEE Animation and co-organized by APAF, the Slovak Association of Producers of Animated Films. So, we had already a session yesterday called CEE Animation Masterclass, and it was dedicated mainly to the topic of how to start your professional career, specifically designed for the students or young professionals. And today we continue with the topic of a real professional film by Sepideh Farsi, La Siren, a completely new film that you will discover. And we will have a presentation of course, of the Slovak studio Blue Faces, Tomas Danay together with it. So the topic of how to start your professional career continues a little bit. The thread still goes on here because you will see opportunities how you as animators can participate in large professional European films as animators or different positions on a professional film. So first of all, I have the pleasure to first of all introduce to you just very briefly CEE Animation, the organization. We exist since more than 10 years. It's an organization put together by associations of producers of animated film from different countries. The 5 founding members were Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Hungary. And we organize different things during the year. You might have heard about the CEE Animation Forum, which is a pitching forum, or the CEE Animation Workshop, which is a training program for professionals, producers with directors and projects. So our partners of the Masterclass that we organize each year at the Faculty of Film and TV, VŠMU in Bratislava. We do this every year with some new topic, specifically for young people, young professionals. And our partners are in Slovakia, first of all, the Audiovisual Fund that supports us. Also, KEGA, which is a support program designed for universities, together, of course, with VŠMU, the school, and with the cooperation with CEE Animation, who is supported by Creative Europe and Visegrad Film Fund. These are our main partners. I would like to thank Katarina Kerekešová, who is the director of our association, producer, for actually doing all this and organizing, and also the team, Lea Pagachova and other people who helped to organize this. Let's start with the presentation of today. It will have 2 parts. One will be first the director of the film La Sirène, Sepideh Farsi, presenting her side of the creative process of doing this film, and the second part will be by Tomas Danay from the Bratislava studio Blue Faces, who did a part of the animation. So once again, my name is Juraj Krasnohorsky. I'm a producer from a Bratislava-based company called Artichoke, and just a short introduction to how we came here. It all started actually in 2019 at the CEE Animation Forum in Třeboň, where I met the French producer Sébastien Onomo from Special Touch Studios, France. He came to present one of his films to Třeboň, to the CEE Animation Forum. And we stayed a little bit in touch since then. And in 2020, I think it was, or 2021, sorry, in spring, he called me saying, you know, I talked to you about this film, La Sirène. We were doing this since 6 years. We are running out of time. We are running out of money. And we need a little help. And that little help would be, yes, we need 38 animators in Blender. And I was like, okay, 38, that's a number. I mean, it doesn't sound big, but if you think of the region that we are in, I don't know if, I mean, maybe 4 countries together, we could put together 38 professional, high-level Blender animators. So I said, like, that might not work, but let me just make a few phone calls and we'll see what we can do, because I really wanted to work on this film. And so after a few phone calls, there were a few, I ended up calling Tomas, and he came with a brilliant idea. And the brilliant idea resulted in having only 8, I think. 8, was it, or 9? More animators? Okay, well, whatever, but it's not 38. It was less than 10 animators doing more than 30 minutes of the film at the end. So this is the trick. And after, when it was all finished, we did it just in 4 or 5 months at the end of the year 2021. Sébastien Renaumont, the producer, he told me, I cannot believe no one in whole Europe, in the 34 studios I talked to, had this brilliant idea before. So this is coming. But before, it is my pleasure to introduce on the stage Sepideh Farsi, Iranian-French director of the film La Sirène. The film was just premiered in Panorama section of the Berlinale, so just 2.5 weeks ago. It was opening the Panorama. As I heard, it was the first time an animated, fully animated film was opening. It was really a great moment. We were there with Tomas, a huge room of 800 people applauding this beautiful film. Well, unfortunately, I'm teasing you. We will not be able to see the film here, which is a real pity. But the reason for it is that it's the Annecy Festival who has an exclusivity for it. So if you happen to go to Annecy, that will be the place to see it. And I really wish this film will be picked up by a distributor, and maybe it already has been, and I don't know it, for distribution in Slovakia, because it's an absolutely beautiful film, of which you will see excerpts. So you will get the idea of how it looks and what it's about and so on. Okay, with further ado, Sepideh, the floor is yours. And I will be here for moderating the Q&A at the end. We kindly ask you to keep your questions until the end. It's also more practical because there is a recording going on, but there will definitely be a Q&A for both Tomas and Sepideh at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Juraj, Tomas, all the rest of the team, beautiful Bratislava team who are here. I see them. To start, it's interesting. An audience of young or less younger professionals who've studied film and all. I never studied film. I am totally self-taught, and I never studied animation either. So that's where I would want to start. But basically, the image and the emotion, these are the two keywords maybe that I've been trying to kind of work on, and it has been my compass in my career. So to come to the Siren, it's let's have a glimpse at this excerpt as a teaser. So that's the opening scene of the film, and this is how it looks now, fully finished. But I think the interesting approach would be to go back and show you how it was looking a few years ago, because the Iran-Iraq war took 8 years, and the film took us 8 years to make. So it is a long journey, and it has had a lot of developments. So to include, and as you can see, so many partners all over Europe. And this is just part of the team. Of course, the Bratislava team is not here because they joined us later, but Java Javahiri, the screenplay writer, Zaven Najjar, whose brilliant artwork has been the support or really the core of the film, Sébastien Renaumont, the producers, Annemie from Belgium, Vanessa Tchaikovsky from Berlin, David Grumbach from Luxembourg, Nadine, our production manager, my assistants, Jean-Claude and Yukiko, and some of the storyboarders. And the team is much larger, of course, as you can imagine, down to the friends who are present here. When we started working on it started by me wanting to tell a story, about war in Iran, and when I was more or less the same age as the main character, Homi D, whom you see here. And it really took me quite a bit of time to find the right partner, who was Zaven Najjar, because the screenplay, I knew I would want to work with Javad. We'd already worked on my previous film, Red Rose, and some others. So we had affinities. But I needed somebody who could translate my intentions into drawings. And that was really very delicate. And when I met Zaven, he's from his father is Syrian Armenian, and he was familiar with the Lebanese war, and so we clicked immediately on the emotional and artistic level, and that's how it started. And then the challenge was that I wanted the film to be quite realistic, but also very stylized. So on one hand, we had a whole lot extensive historical documentation and research that was done by me and by Javad, and that we tried to convey to a team out of which nobody was Iranian. So we really had to feed them within the details of the story and the history and the right choices to be made. And that was how we really went hand in hand with Zaven to begin with, and then the team started expanding, and this was always the goal for me, to kind of really feed them with the right elements so that they could react and produce the right artwork. So the other thing I need to mention, and it's important, is that all the backgrounds and not the assets, but the backgrounds are all in 2D, but the characters and the assets are the props, are in 3D. So we had this combination, and we were aiming right from the beginning also to get a final look for the film, which was more 2D-ish. So this was, the whole thing, to have 3D characters, but who were faithful to his original design, which was very iconic. Homi D starts the film riding a bike, and then he ends up, changing. There is a little metamorphose. As a teenager, his mustache starts growing. He gains different accessories: his brother's shirt, his girlfriend's scarf, a motorbike from his father. So he becomes this, because the film is a film about coming of age as well. So there were different challenges, I would say, at different levels, to keep the character very vivid and, emotional, and yet visually very articulated. And then the particularities I wanted in his face, with the eyebrows and very expressive eyes, and the Iranian eyebrows, I kept trying to teach them how we Iranians move our eyebrows, and I think you suffered also with this, to raise one eyebrow, not both. That's too cartoony, it doesn't match. So, there were, it's like, because I come from live action and documentary, so obviously my reflections in guiding are not the same as somebody who comes from the animation world, and the demands are different. And so I think it took us, with each of the teams in each studio, quite some time to get tuned. And then, of course, it was much, easier to work afterwards. So the turns, of course, were, critical. And I think I had a lot of my things, I'm getting a bit specific here, but the correlation, this is the design part of it, between the frontal angle and the profile, the side angle, side view, and the 3/4, all of these were very, things that were always. And here you get a look at something which was drawn quite at the beginning. It's one of the first drawings, and you see the evolution. It's interesting because there are less details, but it's already has the main, dynamics and the lines. And I'll show you the trailer, which we did in 2016. So you see how much the design and the whole look of the film has changed between this first kind of a teaser or a test that we made some almost 6 years ago now, or 7, and the final result that you saw at the beginning. The scenes are the same, the main articulation of the things are the same, but we've gained in details, we've gained in expressivity, on layers, different aspects. The film is much more sophisticated now, although the main line is the same. So that's the whole process it took us to kind of develop at different levels. It started with the character designs to get more into details and develop the features, the backgrounds, the same thing, and up to the last, through the animation, and of course till the end when we did the compositing. We still were looking for ways of enhancing the emotion and the expressivity of the film. And it's always little things, but the combination makes the big, difference. And one of the important points for me was to give the convey the feeling of a besieged city, because the story happens in Abadan in south of Iran, as you saw in the text, and right at the beginning of the war, it was one of the first cities attacked by Iraq, and many people left, but some decided to stay and to defend their city, and this is a real story. Of course, the film is fiction, but based on this historical fact. So I wanted to convey the feeling of being circled, being besieged, and we also worked on that. This was one of our first ideas with Zaven. I asked him, and he agreed that it was the right decision to make, to exclude some colors from the palette, the film palette, and so some colors are absent; they're just not there. And it gave us this somehow the feeling of restriction unconsciously. I think the spectator feels that throughout the film. And then we also worked on it with the layers of dust and smoke, which gradually came to and were added on the film. So here I start with some of the backgrounds, main backgrounds. Omid's house, the palm grove, his room. These are some of the main backgrounds designed by Zaven himself, and then a team worked on the other angles and the street. Each detail was really kind of worked out also by comparison to historical elements and documentation. This is a cinema that really existed in Abadan and burned down. This is a real scene, and a poster, the last film which was shown there before it burned down, and we have a flashback sequence in the film. We really tried to remain close to some historical facts. This is the church and the mosque that are still there, and they are sets in the film as well. So the Armenian church, of course. So that was a big point, because Zaven is Armenian, so it was also a kind of an emotion. And we did not have footage. We didn't have Google Map by then. We didn't have any of these tools. So we really had to be inventive by combining photos and drawings and whatever we could find to draw all of these things. It's maybe light. Thank you. So you see all these very extremely detailed backgrounds drawn out of practically scratch to be in our line and iconic, and yet realistic as well. And then a whole set of characters. This is Omid's grandfather, Saleh, typical southern Iranian man with his clothing and the headgear. Sorry, and for each character, one of the ideas was to give him or her some particular something. So for him, it was the goat, his pet, who kind of has not human attributes exactly, but somehow, and he makes those noises and which you heard in the trailer. Sound and humor was also part of what we aimed to have, this combination of tragedy and humor to make it a bit lighter, because it's clearly not a comedy, but there were moments where we really used some humor to enlighten the whole situation. Pari is the alter ego of Omid, the very important female character. Her design also was a real challenge, because we had this scarf issue right from the design part, and the hair issue, and then it had to be modelized in the right way so that in 3D we would be able to render it in a nice flow of movement, and that was really something. And then her face needed to be girlish, but also very kind of feminine, not too much. So all of these, he is a warlord. This is another character, Mustafa. This character really existed in Abadan. He used to live and he fought in the war. He was a he was, how would you say, an ex-bad guy who had turned into a soldier and decided to fight and defend his country. So these were, anecdotes that we had been told. This character also really existed. She was helped as a nurse, carrying corpses and tending the wounded people. So with a young woman, she was 19, and she's still living in Iran, actually. So we were inspired by many real characters, as well as, totally fictitious and fiction characters. Susan is the Paris mother. She plays a singer. It's a woman singer who cannot sing after the revolution, which was the case of all of the Iranian women singers. The engineer is yet another crazy character with whom Omid interacts, and this is Omid's mother. So for each character we had some, challenges and issues. But I think what again, I come back to this combination of humor and the more serious side of the film, which is the overall side. On each one of them, like this guy was crazy about cats, and I know that the animation team suffered animating cats. They hated it, but we insisted on trying to find a way to do it. All those who are really in animation know that it is really a challenge. So anyway, we managed those things. But to go to the war scene, the front side, again, we were inspired by or tried to remain very faithful to the atmosphere of that era, because it was important for me to have the right, for all of us, the right guns, the right boots, the right helmets. It had to be right. We couldn't just make it up and be inventive. That was one part of it. The other part was the historical veracity. So we read extensively, and here this is going one step further or backwards. This is part of the animatic. So I guess I'm talking to all of you know what an animatic is, no? There's no need to explain. Okay. So this is part of the animatic, same football scene. I will show it to you now so that you can make a comparison between different stages. The animatic here for us was made after the trailer that you saw. So once we had the fundings, we started the trailer that's the more minimalistic, the one you saw, the second part, was made to help the production raise funds, of course, and for us to test the technical aspects. And this was done afterwards, and this was really the base for the production. So once the storyboard was cut and the animatic was made, we really remained very, very close to this cut till the end of the production. So it's interesting that you see it. And of course, sound helped a lot. We had already temp voices, and I also gave a lot of sound to the storyboarders to inspire them so that they would draw. They were listening to songs. They were from Iran, ambient sounds, all sorts of different sounds. And when we were working on the animatic, I was doing a kind of a very minimalistic soundtrack myself and cutting the images with sound so that they would be inspired, and then they would do the retakes, basically, because we really timed it very precisely before hitting the production phase. So please. So it shows you the scope of the work we've done. And again, to go back to the work Zaven did with the colors, we had layers of different shades of not shades, tones. Sorry, that he really put more emphasis on. So we had the greens that specific ways of using it in the backgrounds and in the characters. Some characters in the browns, all the military aspect of the. This guy also really existed. The general, he was a real figure who was killed during the war by the regime. So we had the brown palette is probably one of the richest, for obvious reasons, because of the nature of that region. Also the blue, the whole, the blue is very. We have very particular blues that are very important in the Iranian arts and architecture. So that was also one of the. And here you have more characters: the referee, the guy in the cold room, Paris in a different clothes. We had, and this is Paris' house, the interior of the singer's house, and her, and again, the boat, which is one of the main elements of the film till the end. I wouldn't do the spoiling, but you'll see the film hopefully soon. Now here we have, if you're interested, I think you would be, Flavio Perez from l'Effet studio in Montpellier, l'Effet Spécial. They did the pipe and all the renderings and everything. And he here explains the whole pipe, and it's pretty complex. So I'll suggest that we go through it together.
Hi, I'm Flavio, technical supervisor at l'Effet Spécial. I've got 3 minutes to talk about the pipeline, so let's hurry up. Follow me. So every animated project relies on a more or less complex organization we call the pipeline, and this is the pipeline for La Siren. The idea is to define 2 important processes which will allow the whole team to reach the final result. First, the workflow, which is the technical and artistic steps you probably all know to go from the storyboard to the final composited shot. And then the data flow, which is how the data itself, from assets to pixels, is transformed by artists or tools. For the Siren, the artistic direction comes from the vector art created by Zaven. This gives a very specific look we want to preserve in the final result. Let's take the example of a background design. The artist takes the storyboard and creates the related final background out of many layers in Adobe Illustrator. The rest of the movie is made in Blender, so we export the layers from the Illustrator file to a series of PNGs. In Blender we design some tools to allow the layout artist to place these planes more or less close to the camera, recreating a 3D space out of a 2D background. This will allow later parallax effect or placing the 3D characters and props in between the planes. When the animation is done, we export the position of the camera and planes to After Effects while the characters and props are rendered to image sequences. Other tools bring back the original Illustrator layers, so we get back the precision provided by the vector art, and we can animate part of the set in a more appealing way. That will be the workflow. The data flow will require dozens of files and exchange of data format from one program to the next or from one step to another within Blender, and we do that for each of the 1869 shots of this movie. To help us, we save all the information such as a list of assets and shots, timing and casting in the web app Kitsu. We save all the files and versions in a database, an asset manager we created named LibreFlow, powered by Cabaret Studio. We created many tools and scripts within the different software packages to automate as much as we can to allow the artist to focus on creative tasks. Many other apps such as a chat, a wiki, a web-based shared post library and other add-ons are also part of this ecosystem tailor-made for this movie. A huge part of these solutions are made out of free and libre software which are available to anyone. That's including our tools made by the team here in Montpellier. It allows us to add any number of artists and studios in the production in their own environment, because that's one of the difficulties of this production. The movie is being made by 8 studios across 4 countries so far, and because of the COVID pandemic, a lot of artists are working remotely, all of them using either Windows, Macs or Linux systems. So we modified our asset manager, LibreFlow, to be able to share the files across the different sites and then allow the director, art director and production team to quickly review all that work in Kitsu. My time is over, but trust me, it was only the tip of the iceberg. Now, back to Annecy.
Yes, as you realized, it was made for Annecy first time. What I wanted to point, it is quite an impressive pipe, and we really worked because I know there are many students and young animation professionals here. The tools that they developed for us really helped us, although there were bugs. It did happen, I recon, but still, we really helped. I mean, reviewing things, just for instance, between Paris and I don't know, Strasbourg and Bratislava, just going back and forth in Kitsu, different versions, and we were able to put notes, and for me to make the retakes, and for them to explain why it doesn't work, or they did it, and I would say, no, you didn't, and yes, we did, but you didn't see it, whatever. I mean, it's this exchanges, especially during the pandemic, it was really, really critical, and the tools helped us. Sometimes it was also behindering, but generally, and one of the issues we had also, and it doesn't have to do with the workflow he explained, but it was a lip sync issue because the film is in Persian. I insisted to have the original version of the film in Persian language. So I worked with Iranian actors, regardless of the challenge that is to find good actors outside Iran, because I can't go back to Iran and I cannot work with actors who live in Iran because of political reasons, because I'm blacklisted and they would be blacklisted. So they needed to be actors who were good and who fit the role and who were outside Iran. So, and one exception, actually, I did work with an actor who still lives in Iran, and he accepted the risk to give his voice to one of the characters, and he recorded himself with a sound engineer in Iran and sent me the files. And in other cases, 2 others were in the US. That was not a question of risk, but complexity is that you direct actors who are far away through Skype or through, and then, we really had some, issues, and they were all live action actors. They were not animation professionals or those who do dubbing, or I really wanted, and then it came down to doing the lip sync on Persian, and all the detection, the automatic detection tools are made or calibrated for English language. So they would end up detecting weird things with Persian voices. And I kept correcting, and it was really becoming a headache because you don't have that many retakes, and it wasn't working. So I thought I have to convince them to do it manually, and it really took me a few weeks to talk to the animators first. It was in Germany, a studio in Cologne, Luterbeck studio, Trick Studio, and to ask the animators if they were willing to do manual tests, detecting the lip movements manually, and then to time the tests, how long it took them and how long it took it to be detected and corrected automatically, and compare the timings and convince the production that it was worth it doing it manually. We would gain time because there were lesser mistakes, and it really took me a month to do the whole process, but at the end, we ended up continuing manually, and the film was done, but then some parts ended up here, I think, for non-Persian speaking animators. But it's all of these is part of, the challenge, I would say, that you have to kind of remain faithful to the core of the film, the project. I think, yeah, this is a part which was done exactly in Cologne, in the Luterbeck Trick Studio. So one last bit, you will see some of the backstages. Yes, the rigging is a really tricky part in 3D, as you know. And the controllers that you will be given or gifted to then move the character to animate. And it's really tricky because when they modelize and they rig, you don't know exactly, nobody knows until it's tested if there are things missing or not. You know, it's when you really come to the animation part, starting to move the characters according to the movements you need for the scene, because that's also the other thing. Some characters need to jump, some don't. One may need to dance. We had an issue with the singer's dress, for instance, because she, you know, by then the dress would tear apart. I mean, all these things, the extension of the movements, the type of movements you need and all. So the controllers and the correction of the rigging, the calibrating is really, it's the inside of the pipe, but it is really one part of the thing that. And here we go to Strasbourg. I will translate this part. It's in French. It's not subtitled, unfortunately. It's Mathieu from a studio in Strasbourg, Amopix, who explains the whole background issues, and that's where a lot of it was done.
Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue au studio Amopix, un studio d'animation basé à Strasbourg en région Grand Est. Le studio Amopix a notamment œuvré sur la création des décors pendant 6 mois en 2020 et nous sommes en train actuellement de mettre en place un pipeline de fabrication du compositing de ce projet qui mélangera de l'animation sur Blender, c'est-à-dire de l'animation 3D avec un rendu 2D, des FX en tradi numérique faits sur After Effects ainsi que différents types d'animations également réalisées sur After Effects. Je vais céder la parole maintenant à un autre Mathieu qui s'est occupé de la réalisation des décors de ce projet.
La particularité de la création des décors sur la Sirène, c'est évidemment le travail en vectoriel sous la direction artistique de Zaven. Ça a demandé une petite prise en main,
work they did on the
un temps
backgrounds,
d'adaptation, mais évidemment le dessin vectoriel apporte son lot d'avantages. Outre
which
le
was
fait
done
qu'Illustrator
in
appartient à la famille
Illustrator,
Adobe, et qu'il est ainsi
was
facile
then
à
worked,
basculer dans
integrated
After
into
Effects.
Blender,
L'avantage
and
principal,
then
par la
at the
nature
end we
même
went
du
to
vecteur,
After Effects.
c'est de pouvoir
So
se dissocier de la
this whole
problématique
issue
de la
between
résolution. Par exemple, au sein d'une même séquence, c'est facile de réutiliser, redimensionner, recadrer les décors à volonté.
He is explaining that because of the vector design, it's very easy to use the same elements in different
sans avoir à se préocuper de leur future taille d'utilisation.
sizes in different scenes, and it is a real gain of time to use that. So that was one of the, because our difficulty was to find people who would draw in Illustrator. It's quite rare. Many of the design teams are used to working with Photoshop. So that was another one of the challenges we had, but at the end it made us gain time because of what he's explaining actually.
L'étape du compo consiste à ajouter des flets réalistes.
And here he's talking about the compositing where they worked on loops, but they were manually created. Zaven didn't want any of the existing library loops, so all of the effects we had, the smoke, the dust, the curves, the movements were created and kept in the library and then used by all the compositing team in different studios.
Créer les zones de contact des personnages qui seront générées directement dans After Effects, mais à partir des suites d'images de Blender. Donc,
so the image files were made in Blender and then composited in After Effects.
Motion Tool, qui est un plugin gratuit et qui permet d'extraire et de combiner différentes formes d'un même calque Illustrator. Donc il sera utilisé pour récupérer un élément du décor que l'on veut animer par exemple, sans besoin de repasser par le fichier Illustrator d'origine.
From
Concernant la
Illustrator, bringing
méthodologie
into
et le
After
pipe
Effects and then
interstudio,
animated.
le layout est réalisé dans Blender et récupéré sous la forme d'un espace 3D
layout
dans
was
After
done
Effects
in
pour les
Blender
fichiers Illustrator natifs. Selon la complexité
and
des
then
plans
exported
et l'usage de
to
calques en
be
3D
integrated
et en
in
vectoriel, il est possible que certaines
After
scènes
Effects.
soient assez lourdes à animer. Donc pour anticiper ce problème, les calques seront également exportés en PNG, qui sont bien plus
So
légers à
when
traiter,
the backgrounds
puis
are
remplacés par les
heavy
calques natifs à l'export.
during the layout phase, the layers were exported in PNG to make them lighter and then bring them into After Effects. So, I mean, to give you other aspects of the challenges, the more technical challenges. And I think we are reaching... an excerpt of the finished film.
دنبال محمد آشپز میگردم.
محمد آشپز؟ حاجیته چیکار داشتی؟
فرشید گفت بیام اینجا.
حس میزدم. حالا چطور هست فرشید خان؟
ای بدک نیست.
امرو یه چلو مرغی پختم که انگوشتاشونم بیریسم. ببینم خودت خوردی غدا؟ کسی که تو آشپزخونه میاد نباز گشنه بره. امرو باز غدای دیدبانا رو هم تو ببری. حواست باشه دیر نکنی با اینا گشنهشون که میشه گرای خطا میدن. اون وقت بیا و بکن کار.
چطوری پیداشون کنم؟ فرشیدی چی نگفت بهم؟
میری پالایشگاه برج سمت چپ رأس ساعت 12 اونجا باش. خودشون پیدات میکنن. دیدبانن ناسلامتی.
In this sequence you saw, the sound design was not finalized yet. When we integrated it, I see the difference now, I can tell you, or I hear it. But what I wanted to point to is the music element in the film, which is very, also very important. And it's a mixture of jazz, and the original soundtrack was composed by Eric Truffaz, the French jazz man. His instrument is trumpet, his main, and some traditional Iranian music pre-existing, and other songs, old songs that were brought in that I really wanted to have in the film, very like cult songs. There are 2 or 3 songs in the film as well. So this combination was interesting for me, and I think it conveyed it. It helped us conveying emotionally through the soundtrack different layers of culture and to build in the narrative, because Iran back then was very different from the Iran now. Not that I'm a nostalgic of the Shah's regime, not far from it, but still there was a more cosmopolitan aspect, especially to Abadan, in Abadan as a oil petrol port, petrochemical port. So music helped us also build those layers, to make a more, how do you say, holistic experience to the film. And I think this is really the last bit of my presentation. You still see a lot of the team. You see the difference of the culture between Germany and France. And it would be time for me to, not to introduce, but to ask Tomas to take the floor and explain about the rest of the...
But first, to give a big applause to Sepideh Farsi. My name is Tomas Danay, and I'm an animation lead in a company called Blue Faces. We were established in 2010, and back then I started my studies right on this school on animation faculty, and I was the first employee of this company. Back then we were doing mostly rotoscoping, stereoscoping, retouching, and like this very helpful, boring stuff. But since then, we have grew and we started to do a lot more than that. So, okay, and wait. Okay, so since then, we are focusing also on visual effects, CGI, animation, grading, editing, and we also are developing our own pipelines. So first of all, my presentation will be much more technical than Sepideh was, and I will get more into the technical point of view and how our pipeline worked and what we did for this movie. But first of all, let me continue to introduce our company. We have worked on many feature movies since our establishment in 2010, like Harry Potter, Avengers, Anomalisa, and music videos, games, and a lot of other stuff as well. So right now, I will play for you a small showreel of our work in general, what we do from more movies. Okay, so let's get back to the Siren. So how it all began, like Juraj started to talk about it, and this is how it all began. Juraj called me, it was, I think it was in the winter, 2021, maybe, yeah. I remember I was in the kitchen back then, because I have this weird memory of remembering the places I were. I was in the kitchen when Juraj called me, and he said he has this really, really great project and he would really like to work on it, but he has a small problems that I would need to resolve. So the first problem and catch number one was that he wanted for us to make 30 minutes of animation in 3 months. And that's all that you have ever animated, you know, that's quite a lot of minutes. So, and it's a feature movie, so, and the pipeline and everything is done. And so the first problem I needed to resolve was how to make this happen. So I told Juraj that in our country or in the country near us, it's impossible to do this amount of work because we don't have enough people. Because 3D animation and 3D animators, there are not many of us, let's be honest, in our countries. So that's why I got the idea, because the last, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years, I was mainly focused on using the technology called motion capture. So that's why my idea was, that's me, by the way, in the motion capture suit. My idea was to use motion capture to help us do this faster. So for those of you who don't know what motion capture is, it's a few sensors that you have on your body, and those are recording the movements of your limbs and then are translating this movement to the 3D space. So that's how it works. And right now I will show you the short video, and then I will tell you something more about motion capture. So we had a lot of experience of using motion capture. So I told Juraj that the only way how we can make this in Slovakia is using this system. So, okay, so I'm not going to go into like really technical stuff and details. We are using the Xsense inertial motion capture systems. The biggest difference is when you are using optical mocap, you need cameras and you are stuck to one place. When you are using inertial motion capture like Xsense is, you can go anywhere. Like you have seen in the video, we were recording outside, we were recording in our office, we were recording everywhere we need it. So so it's portable, it's easy to use, and you have a really, really clean data. And that was a problem before in the motion capture systems, that you needed to clean the data a lot, and it took a lot of time. But right now the technique is developed so much that the data are so clean that you just need to do some offsets and stuff like that. And also real-time integration, but I will tell you about this later. Okay, and there are two types of those suits. First is called Link, it's the first one, and the second one is called Arvinda. The first one is like a full body suit, so you look like a superhero when you have it on. Okay, and right now, few words about why to use mocap and when to use mocap, because it's not a magical tool that will do everything for you. Because there are some situations when it's better to use normal keyframe animation on the left and when to use motion capture on the right. Like when you have stylized motion, when your character should look more like an animated character, like a Disney character or stuff like that, it's mostly better to use it with a keyframe animation like hand-drawn. And this movie, Siren, was supposed to move very realistically. So that's something that we used because we didn't have to like edit the data so much, because the characters was supposed to move like the normal people. So another thing is hyperbolization. That means like in animation everything needs to be exaggerated, and that's the animation characters do some movements that you can't do in mocap, because mocap is always limited by the actor and by the anatomy. So I can't play in the mocap something that my body can't do. But when you are doing a keyframe animation, you can do anything. But there are like subtle movements, like when you are like breathing or like moving your feet a little or stuff like that, that gives a lot of life into your animation, and you can record that in a mocap. And also when you have non-humanoid characters, like we had in this movie, we had goats, cats, and stuff like that. Using mocap is kind of possible on that. I once recorded the dinosaur. It was a lot of fun, but we did those with the hand animation, like keyframe animation. But for the humanoid characters, it's great to use motion capture. For the workflow, working with the mocap is a lot more technical. So it depends on the people you have or the skills you have. Working with the keyframe animation is something that everyone who understands animation can learn, I think. So, and one of the most important things was that when you are working with a keyframe animation, you need experienced senior animators. And that's something that we don't have a lot in here. So, but when you are using a motion capture, the basic and the most important stuff is the actor. Because when the actor can't act that scene, you can't shoot it, because it's all dependent on the actor. So that's why we were able to use junior animators, like people who don't have so much experience, but they got the data from the actor and the most of the movement was already there. So they were just like offsetting stuff and retiming and also doing some retakes, but we will get to that later. First, like the artistic feeling is when it always looks different when you are using mocap and animation. We were trying as much as we could so you wouldn't see the difference in this movie. And I think we quite managed that because we were asking a lot of people if they knew which scenes were animated by keyframe animation and which by mocap. And I don't think that somebody told me that there was a really big difference. So I think we managed to do that. But the important thing about mocap and the thing why we used it is that it saves a lot of time, and that also means a lot of money. Because 3 animation studios were working on this movie. We were just one of that 3. Okay, and another catch was there were 3 catches on this project. So, and another catch was this, a Blender. Because we have never worked in Blender before. So, because mostly it was perceived as a student software because it's free and it's open source. But Blender is developing so quick and so much that it's not becoming the industry standard yet, but maybe it will in a few years. So, but I work in Maya for like many years. So for me to take this project, yeah, that was my face that you see in there. Okay, so how does it work right now? I will tell you. Like when you are doing like an art project that's mainly artistic, it's better to use Blender. But when you are doing a project that's like very commercial or a game or something, Maya is still better. Why is that? It's because Blender is free and a lot of students use Blender and a lot of young developers are developing plugins and a lot of really nice stuff for the Blender that is not on Maya. And Maya is like, let's say, stuck in the past in some things. And the Blender is developing and changing a lot of things very quickly. So it depends. And but you know, when you can work in 3D, it's just like the buttons are somewhere else, basically. But yeah, right now we are developing some more projects in Blender, and I promise to my team that well, when we will get a new project in Blender, I will also learn Blender. So yeah, I'm learning Blender right now. Okay, so and how it continued. Since we didn't have so much experience in Blender, I was going to gym with my friend Gregor, who is sitting here. So please stand up so they can see you. Yeah. And I told him about this project, and I was like really hesitant. I didn't want to do it so much because I was afraid that's in different software than we are used to. And he said to me, "Don't worry, I will take care of every technical stuff that you will need." And I said, "Are you sure, Gregor?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, let's do this." Okay, and the last catch was that most of the work that we did was during the pandemic. So it gave us a lot of limitations during our recordings, but I will get to that later as well. So we got everything what we need. So I told Juraj, okay, we can do it. So, but first they wanted to see some tests. So we did some tests. So this is Gregor, and it's in front of our company. So we did some first tests, and what we were trying to achieve was to make the movement as much similar to that what other studios did, because a lot of the work was already done when we were invited to this project. So we needed to edit the data to look as much as the animations that were already done. So what we did was edit the data so they were not so smooth, so they were kind of jagged, and we also like reduced the number of keyframes, and we were trying to get closer to what they did with our mocap data. So on the top, you can see the blocking of one scene, and on the bottom, you can see the our motion capture with some basic cleaning. Those were just the tests. So they could see if we could do that and if it's even possible to do this. So we have sent these 3 tests to them. I think Sepideh saw them as well. And they said, okay, let's do this. So we did. So, but my second task was to assemble the team for this project. So here is the team of the animators. And I have a small favor to ask all of you, because some of the animators are here. So please, Gregor, stand up. Patrick, stand up. Martina. Anybody else? Okay. So thank you very much. This was my favor to ask, to give them a clap, because they were under so much pressure, and they worked for so long. Sometimes Gregor slept in our office on the couch during this project. And I'm really, really proud of them. And I'm really sorry that they were not able to make it to the premiere on Berlinale. So at least they got this applause in here, because they really deserve it. So I've marked the red dots to the people of my team who are students. So as you see, almost half of, or maybe even more than half of our animators were junior students. So it means they didn't have so much experience. So that's it. So I'm really, really, really glad that we were able to assemble this awesome team that had a lot of fun during this project, but you will see that later. Okay, so, but as I said before, the actors are maybe even more important than animators, or at least the same. So these 4 people are also students of this school and are actors, and were playing characters. Unfortunately, they can't be here because they are rehearsing the play in the next building right now, but they are all sending greetings to you. So David was playing Omid, the main character. Oliver and Bence were playing all the secondary characters, and Michaela was playing all the female characters. And these are the ending credits from the movie. So now I'm sure that I didn't forget to mention anybody, because all of the people from our side that worked on this movie are here on the screen. Okay, so the first recording, we had this like really, really interesting idea, because it was during the lockdown and Sepideh couldn't come to us. So what we did was using Unreal Engine to make a live streaming of this recording. So this is what Sepideh saw on during YouTube stream. So she was directing the action of the actors during the YouTube stream and the call with us. Yeah, I know it's crazy. So what she saw right on the right top side, you can see me chilling and eating something, but on the right there is an actor, David, who plays Omid, and to the left there is a layout of this shot. I'm sorry, and on the bottom there is Unreal Engine preview. So we did this recording so the Sepideh could show how the characters would move in the Unreal Engine in the real time. But it was kind of difficult, and it took a lot of time, and the deadlines were coming really, really close. So we changed this scheme a little. So I had a call with Sepideh about every shot, and it was like really extensive, long calls. So she explained everything to me, and then I directed all the recordings of our shots. There are some more examples, as you can see. Okay, so, and next, how our workflow worked. As you can see, this is how most of the motion capture data looks like. So it's a mess. So I will show you some shots how it worked. Okay, so this is one shot and how it looked in the animatic. So we will go step by step right now. So this is the animatic of this shot. This was the layout. Layout was done in Blender just by moving the characters in 3D space without any additional movement of the characters. And here is our motion capture for this shot. Okay, and then we took this data and use it in this shot, and it looked like this. This was the first pass of this shot. So we showed this to Sepideh, and then she told us what to edit on this shot, how to move some characters, or if she have some other things to say about this shot, we fixed them. So this was the final animation. You will see I think she decided that the last character should go more to the right. So that's what we did, and we did some minor changes as well. And this is how this shot looked like after compositing. And I have another one. And this is one of my favorite shots. Because we had a lot of fun recording this, because it's on the bicycle. So it was very risky for everybody involved. So this is how it looked in the layout. And this is our mocap. So poor David risked his life during this shot. He didn't have any insurance, I must say. I'm really sorry. That was a mistake on our part. And this is how it looked on the mocap. We were also risking our technology because it's very fragile, but whatever. Deadlines, you know. So this is how the mocap that was implemented on our character worked. Of course, the movement of the bicycle we did by hand, but the actor is using the mocap. So, and this was the final animation for this shot. And this is the final animation with compositing as well. Okay, so this is how we worked on every shot, and these are the results, like what we did. So we did more than 41,000 frames of animation on this project, and of the movie. But also that means, because there were more characters at the same time, we did 82.37 minutes of animation. And this is how we looked after the deadline. Okay, so now I will show you some of the shots from the film that we've been working on. Okay, so there is only one thing that you need to do after we finish a huge project, and that's a party. So that's what we did. I have one video, but don't worry, it's very short.
Pojďme.
Danay. You can do it. Don't have social anxiety.
Yeah!
Okay. Because I think it's very important when you are working on a project like this to have a really good team. And I think that our team was really awesome. And boy, we had a lot of fun. So as you can see, we had a really group that contained all animators, and it was a Facebook group. And we were posting a lot of memes from this project. So when we had a party, I decided to print each meme that was created during this project, and it was all the wall in our office filled with those memes. And as you can see, during our first party, Sepideh was not able to come, but as you can see, she is on the screen, at least. But yeah, so some of the memes that I wanted to show you. For those of you who don't know what retakes are, retakes are something that you send to Sepideh, and when she don't like it, she will give you a retake to this shot. So, as a punishment. So yeah, we had a lot of retake memes during this project. But then we had a second party, and Sepideh came to this party, and it was the first time that she visited our office. As you can see, Juraj is also there. So we had like a smaller party back then. Okay, and this is the picture from the Berlinale. It was like 2 weeks ago or something like that when this film had a premiere in Panorama, and it was awesome. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't bring all my team there because they would really deserve it. And now, if you are interested in anything we do, feel free to contact us. We are looking for compositors, 3D animators, and Unreal Engine artists. So you can send your CVs if you are interested in working with us and have a fun like we did during this project. So thank you very much for your attention. And now I give my word to Juraj, who will be moderating the Q&As.
So thank you very much, both of you, Sepideh, Tomas. So yes, if you want to suffer as animators, don't hesitate. I'm really happy that you keep a good memory of this film, and I'm sure that you animators, when you will see the movie, you will be proud.